Welcome into another episode of Bully Ball on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. The 49ers have won 2 games in a row. I know, seems like a long time. We're going to talk about what we saw in Tampa, what's going on with the team, the rookies, Jawan Jennings' emergence, and who exactly are the San Francisco 49ers in 2024. Stick around after this. I'm Jason Aponte. That's Steph Sanchez. This is the Bully Ball Podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. First of all, before we get into everything, I want to say thank you to everybody who has supported the channel. The channel just got past 15,000 subs on YouTube. Huge, huge milestone. Couldn't have done it without Steph. Couldn't have done it without Rob and the whole team. So, thank you guys for supporting. But Steph, how are you today? Looking good.
Feeling sensational, man. We were just talking about the Penguin, right? Backstage. And great show. If anyone hasn't watched it, I'm just in awe of the acting, the prosthetics, everything. It's top tier. But you know what else is top tier? The 49ers winning 2 in a row. That's great. Coming out of the bye week. This is one they definitely needed, Jay. So I'm feeling good about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to the Penguin, HBO is not paying us to say this. Absolute cinema, just landmark, remarkable television. Even if you're not into comic books, it's just a great show. But yes, the 49ers did win a game that I billed in an article as the most important game remaining on the schedule. Now, obviously, before you start yelling, every game going forward is going to be the most important game of the season. The reason that I chose this game as the most important game is because out of a bye, Christian McCaffrey's back. You have a chance to show us what changes you've made and what team you're going to be going down the stretch. And that was just as important as the win. Show us that certain things are going to be cleaned up. Show us that the team that we have set our watch to in terms of going down the stretch and winning games and being disciplined, and show us that team's on the horizon. Well, I got news for you, Steph, and everybody. That team is the same team that came out before the bye. There was no changes. Red zone issues, special teams, undisciplined defensive penalties, letting a team that has no business being in the game stick around. Now, does that mean that that's what's going to be going forward? I would hope not, but I have to say I was disappointed to see the same things that were happening before the bye after an off week and returning Christian McCaffrey. It's time to start having a larger discussion, and the concern grows because everything looks the same.
Yeah, I think disappointed, definitely the correct word. I think we all were as we were watching this one. Just going into it, I think we had a lot of optimism for the Christian McCaffrey reason, for the rest advantage reason, for the Bucs are more hurt than the 49ers are reason. And so for the 49ers to continue to breathe life into other teams instead of their own is very troubling. But I do have to say, the one improvement is the fact that they're actually winning those games now.
They would have lost that game. They would have lost that game 2 weeks ago. Yeah, they would have lost that game 2 weeks ago, hands down. Yeah.
But I think we have to acknowledge that because there is something to being able to win games while you're still figuring it out. Mm-hmm. This team is clearly still figuring some things out. They got a hell of a lot to clean up, but they've won the last 2 in spite of all that, right? So that's something. Now, I don't know how much of that is going to matter when you're going through this gauntlet after Seattle, because I don't consider Seattle as part of the gauntlet right now. But we'll get to that. But I do think once they get to that, that will really tell us what this team is. And we're like week 10 into the season and we don't know what this team is. Or maybe we do know and we're afraid to admit it to ourselves what that team is, right? But I'll keep saying it that right now, as it stands, as this team looks, I don't think this team is a contender. I feel like I have every right to feel and think that way. And I can probably, set out a bunch of reasons that are valid as to why I feel that way. But I also do think that there is room for the 49ers to make improvements. And I do think there is a world in which those improvements do happen. even still at the rest of the season. So call that false hope or holding out, hopium, but that's just the truth. As it stands right now, this team, not a contender. Could they look like a contender by the end of the season? Yeah, absolutely. And I think Christian McCaffrey being back has a lot to do with that. There were some things like red zone and third down, like you said, that still not where you want it to be. But I think there were some other areas in this game where we saw that we knew Christian McCaffrey being there was the difference.
Yeah, and look, I'd rather almost lose than almost win. And wins are wins, especially for a team that's trying to get back into this. And this game was critical for the 49ers playoff probability percentage. It could have dropped almost 20% with a loss. And this week, it can drop nearly 30% with a loss to Seattle. So obviously the games stack themselves up. Wins are wins, and I'd rather almost lose than almost win. But I'm just disappointed that we have a sample size now of 9 games in which the 49ers have not played a full 4 quarters yet. Right? Like, if it's 3 games, if it's 4 games, if it's 5 games, it's 9 games now that you have not played a full 4 quarters yet, right? That's more alarming than anything. When someone's trying to tell you who they are, believe them. And I think that's the part that makes me a little bit more nervous. Because now you've got a 9-game sample size of the 49ers keeping the door open for people, making critical mistakes. Games are tense when they should be put away. And now it's 9 weeks of it. I think the improvements, obviously, with Christian McCaffrey being on the field and the gravity and everything, right? 100 yards, good to see you, buddy, and one of the better plays in the game. And we'll get into all the good stuff and everything. I think we're just talking overarching takeaways from this game. But the improvements needed to be made within, with details, with the little stuff. They should have won so many more games without Christian McCaffrey. So I think we kind of just said, well, Christian McCaffrey is going to be the end-all, be-all, and the end-all, fix-all. But they need to fix the little things. You cannot have a drive in which you have like 3 consecutive penalties and basically almost gave this game away to Tampa Bay. Shout out to Evan Anderson. My God, if he doesn't make that play, in the red zone and stop them into a field goal, the 49ers don't have a chance to go down for a field goal. They would have to go down for a touchdown. But the special teams muff punt, Darrell Luter, hello, like, get away from the football. Like again with this. It's just, there's been 9 weeks of no 4-quarter performance. And yet the same issues are popping up every single week. And you were lucky to escape with that win. And wins are wins. Again, I'd rather almost lose than almost win. But my God, man, I'm disappointed that I saw the same exact things. And you would think with a week off, integrating Christian McCaffrey, getting Pearsall back up to, it's just, it looks the same. Now, can it change? For sure. Do I hope it changes? For sure. But what I am seeing right now objectively through 9 weeks is the same exact team. And that's more troubling than anything, Steph.
Yeah, and everyone was calling me crazy, or a large portion of people who were in the live chat last week upset that I predicted the 49ers to lose that game last week, but on Sunday. Got pretty close, right? And the reason that I felt that way to begin with was because I said I needed to see it first. I needed to see this team be different, be improved before I predict that they beat this Bucs team. Well, I'll admit, as the week went on, I bought into all the good vibes and McCaffrey coming back. Yeah, I was like, we're so back. We could do this. And they did it, right? But yeah, it's not the way you wanted it to look, absolutely. And while I do still think that the 49ers beat the Seahawks, because I don't take the Seahawks for being a very good team, the week after that, they're just catching strays in here. The week after that, I think I'll probably go back to, predicting that the opposing team wins if I don't see a different version of the 49ers come Sunday, right? Like, it's just, that's where we're at. And we have a super chat from Corey here. He says, we're coping hard as a fan base, but I'll say this: if the Niners do fail, take some responsibility for your disappointment, because they showed who they are. Yeah, I mean, right now they are showing us who they are, and who they are right now is not very good, right? And it seems like that's been just enough to beat bad teams. But that's what we're saying. Like when they get to playing some good teams, I'm going to have some concerns, right? Unless there are a lot of big changes to be made. And I think the reason why it's even more disappointing is because we were expecting not just McCaffrey to be some of that difference, but also the bye week. Like you had the bye week, and yeah, from the rest standpoint, that did help. But still, I thought those little things that you're talking about, Jay, like none of that really improved much, right? So we're still seeing the same thing. It's super frustrating, and I mean, special teams too continues to be the thorn in the 49ers side. And look, before we make any requests for anyone's jobs, I got to tell you guys, those people are keeping their jobs through the rest of this season, whether you like it or not, because the 49ers aren't going to make any changes to kicker, to special teams coordinator in season. I don't see it happening. I continue wishing for it, but it's not going to happen, Jay. So this is what they're going to have to deal with the rest of this season, even if they improve on offense, even if they make improvements on defense. Like they're still going to have to deal with this and be better because of that.
Yeah, 100%. So look, we laid it out. I don't want to be negative, right? I'm just being objective, like literally just looking at the way this team is and how they've been performing. Just unfortunately, this is what it is. Can't get mad at me. You have to get mad at the team. I'm not saying anything that nobody doesn't see with their own eyes. Okay. And Dazzle says a lot of talk about CMC, but the CMC plays special teams. I wish. But there were some new things that were implemented in this game. And this game kind of started off a little weird. Brock was missing a little bit high and everything. But I thought one of the more fascinating portions of this game was Juwan Jennings playing the X receiver role that Brandon Ayuk plays. And I think because of physical limitations, understanding what it entails to be an X receiver, to be able to get yourself open, I don't think we believe that Juwan Jennings is this nuanced route runner, right? But different guys win in different ways. And Juwan Jennings, I'm going to say it. That's it. I was thinking about it. I said it backstage. I'm going to say it right now. Juwan Jennings is the best wide receiver on this 49ers team in 2024. There. I said it. Anybody. Not Debo, not Pearsall, Juwan Jennings. And that's a really big surprise because, again, he leads the team in outside and yards on the outside. And I'm fascinated with how we all kind of, we just thought of Juwan Jennings being an afterthought, almost like, well, he'll be out of here in a year or so, because they've got Pearsall and they bring back Debo or whatever, like, right? Like but the 49ers locked him up with a 2-year deal. And now you know why. And it's just crazy to think that someone who was a bit of an afterthought in this offense has turned into the best wide receiver on this team, on a team that has Debo Samuel, that drafted a first-round wide receiver, that had Brandon Ayuk, because even when Ayuk was here, it was still Juwan Jennings. So I wanted to highlight the fact that an intriguing development is Juwan Jennings at X playing outside the numbers when we thought his physical limitations wouldn't put him there. And him being the best receiver on this team in 2024, it's a pleasant surprise. And it's a well-needed surprise. But I wanted to give Juwan Jennings his flowers, man. Like it's not just third down. It's not just, third and Juwan anymore. They're regularly targeting him on first down and everything as well, too. He's developed into a well-rounded receiver who doesn't need the fine route running to get himself open and can create. It's insane.
Yeah, and it's hard to believe, but like the highest amount of receptions that he had before coming into this year was 39 in 2022.
And they were all on third down or in the red zone.
Yeah, and I remember a lot of people last year, right? Because he had the 29 catches. It was like, I can't believe the 49ers paid someone who had 29 catches last year. Well, yeah, like Jay said, now we know why, and he's well on his way to having his best season. And yeah, a lot of that has to do with the need now, right? Him playing at X because Brandon Ayuk is out for the year, but I think we're seeing what he does best, and he's improved on his game. Like, I think we have to acknowledge that too. Like, dude is slippery. Like, I don't think I realized just how good he is after the catch, but like, when did he get this good after the catch? I don't know, but he seems to have like this natural knack for it now all of a sudden. And that play on that final drive to get that extra yards, staying in bounds, that very well could have been the difference in that game. And Jake Moody, absolutely. And Jake Moody making that kick or not. Like, so we got to give props to Juwan. He, similar to like George Kittle, like two players who, if you put the ball in their vicinity, like they just want it more. So they're going to get it. They're going to make that play. Super reliable. He is absolutely deserving of all the opportunities he's going to get this season. And yeah, I mean, we're thankful to have him. It's crazy. He was just a 7th round pick not too long ago. Right. And to see him develop and flourish into the player that he has been is very impressive. Already in this season, he has 23 first downs out of his 32 catches. Like that's pretty crazy. So he's pretty efficient in how he does. And we have a super chat from Keith that says, how big was Jennings running for those extra yards? Huge. Literally, like I said, the difference between the 49ers winning that game or not, it takes everyone. That's like a good example of it takes everyone to win a game. Like, it doesn't always come down to just the kicker. It doesn't always come down to just the one player. Juwan Jennings helped Jake Moody make that game-winning kick. Let's be real about that. So, yeah, Jennings, I'm excited to see what he does the rest of this season because him and Purdy have good rapport. Like I said, with his target share rising, I think we're going to see what he could do.
Yeah, 100%. And that's a good way to segue to Christian McCaffrey's return. And there's no coincidence that the 49ers went from literally being the bottom of the league in yards after the catch to having the most yards after the catch in this game. And the space created by Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. The yards after the catch with him, you throw the football to George Kittle, which, by the way, Kyle Shanahan, I don't know if you're watching this, it might be a good idea to feature him a little bit more. He's literally been the offensive MVP for the 49ers through 10 weeks. It might be cool to keep throwing him the football. Maybe just an idea. But there's no doubt that the team kind of got back to what they were good at, right? Like the yards after the catch and everything as well too, especially when you start to begin this game and you see Brock's a little bit off, a tick off here and there. You get the long run and catch from Ricky Pearsall. That's the space created by Christian McCaffrey being on the field. That's the stress that it puts on the defense. Because now you can fake a toss all the way over to McCaffrey and then just throw an easy pitch and catch to George Kittle, and he can do the rest running the football. It's good to see that because for as much as we said this team isn't getting back to where they were just based on where they've been through in 9 weeks, this game in certain aspects did feel like the 49ers were getting back to what they do well. You get a long touchdown run by Ricky Pearsall. How do you solve red zone woes? Don't get into the red zone. Score from far out. I think that's a big brain move. What do you do with George Kittle on the fake? You get him the ball for a 2-yard pass, and he does the rest. All of that stuff is created with the stress of Christian McCaffrey. And I think that's the part that at least while we're sitting here trying to figure out who the 49ers are, for brief moments, and I guess this is frustrating as well, too, because we get glimpses. We get those glimpses of like, oh, wow, there it is. Maybe it's there, but it's never consistently across 4 quarters. I think Christian McCaffrey's return in that way, and obviously the big play, the rainbow throw from Brock Purdy is that's a big highlight right there. That's a huge play. But the offense in certain aspects look just like at times what it used to look like. And if we want hopium copium, then it's that. It's like, oh, okay, maybe they can, piece that together for 4 quarters. But Christian McCaffrey being back got the 49ers at certain times back to what they were doing that was successful. And we talked about it. Let's get back to basics. I understand we want to push the ball downfield. We want to do this. Why don't we get back to things that were staples? Quicker throws, getting McCaffrey in space on Vita Vea, getting McCaffrey in space on an edge, and then throwing the football to him. Let's get back to those things. A little bit of it had to be McCaffrey's return, but a little bit of it had to be, hey, let's slow down a little bit. We're getting away from what made us successful. So for a little while in this game, I felt, especially after watching the tape, I'm like, there's the offense. That's the offense from last season that was, putting so much stress on people and bludgeoning them. So I guess what's frustrating is they haven't done it for 4 quarters. But if you want some positivity, that was the first game of Christian McCaffrey. I guess they can only build from there.
Yes, because Christian McCaffrey didn't even look that efficient, at least on the ground, right? Like, it wasn't the best day for him on the ground. Just some of that rust. He hasn't played in a while. He said so himself. Like, there's some things I didn't feel so right. Not with the Achilles. The Achilles feels great, people. But just with him getting back in that rhythm and that flow of playing games again, I think that comfort level is going to come with more reps, of course. And he got the regular number of snaps in this game, which I know some people are upset about, but you definitely feel the difference that it makes for this team. You know, surprisingly, the Bucs, who had like one of the highest zone coverage percentages or rates of this season, it went down to 60%. It was like 50% difference of their regular amount against the 49ers. So what that got you is Christian McCaffrey winning one-on-one matchups, because that's what he does. That's how you get, you know, the 30-yard catch that he had matched up on a linebacker. That's how you get other guys getting space around them, and how you get the yak. Because let me go down some of these numbers here. 182 yards after the catch, according to Next Gen Stats, plus 76 yak over expected. 4 plays of 20 plus yards after the catch, 7.3 yak per reception. So that feels like 49er football. So and like we said, if this isn't even Christian McCaffrey at his best or in his midseason form, because it's not, like, that only has some more room to improve. So I love to see that. That is some optimism I am going to go with, because I think it is going to make a difference going forward. Maybe didn't all look put together in this first game back, but I have reason to believe that it will continue to improve.
Got to crawl before you walk, right? And another thing is the Bucs blitzed the hell out of Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And the way that he handled that down the stretch early on, again, some throws high, some throws behind. We kind of were just like, okay, Brock's a little off today. You disappointed coming out of the bye. You didn't want to see that. But what I will give Brock Purdy so much credit for is, no matter what, if the game is moving along at a pace where it's like, okay, he's not going so well, he doesn't go in the tank. And I'll give him credit for that. He continues to fire, right? And I appreciate that, right? And especially with the way that Todd Bowles was blitzing the hell out of him. And here it is, Brock Purdy was blitzed on 27 of his 42 dropbacks, 64.3%. Purdy was 18 for 22, 274 yards, 2 touchdowns, 148.9 passer rating when blitzed. That's why they couldn't go to zone as much, right? Because now you're just sending guys, and you got to get guys to pick up on the back end. So when that happens, identifying it, knowing where to go with the football, that helps with Christian McCaffrey, because he's right there. He's your safety blanket. All of those things impressed me. So while it wasn't the best start, I think one of the real big positives is, like, right now, Purdy goes, and he gets better, and he just continues, right? So I feel good about that. Also, while we're talking about the offense, George Kittle, man, George Kittle's the offensive MVP of this team, man. And that scramble drill touchdown, I don't want to say it saved the game, but the 49ers desperately needed that. And when we talk about red zone issues, they scored in the red zone on a scramble drill. Like, that's not how they drew that up, but that was perfect. And that's, again, it kind of looked like Jimmy the Pettis in Minnesota, right? A little bit, like where he kind of spun and he just tossed it into the, but George Kittle, man, it might be a good idea. Again, just saying it out loud, maybe, again, what do I know? Might be a good idea in high leverage situations when you need a play. Perhaps George Kittle might be the guy that you should be targeting or drawing plays up for.
It's kind of crazy that he had 3 catches in this game, right? Because like the impact on the small amount of targets that he gets, it can't be overstated. Like, he does so much with so little, and there's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. But one thing we know for sure is when George Kittle gets the ball, like, good things happen, and we continue to see that, especially in the red zone. I mean, the fact that he has 7 touchdowns this season, Not surprising, right? I think we
Used
want
to
to
pray
see
for times like this.
yeah, no kidding. I mean, we want to see more of that, right? And continue to see Kittle involved in the game plan. Because yeah, on that scramble drill, it was supposed to go to Christian McCaffrey on that play. But you know, the chemistry that those two have and just being able to find each other in that corner loomed large, right? So definitely want to see more Kittle. And then another guy I want to see more of that I think we will see more of, Jay, is Ricky Pearsall, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's now the wide receiver 3 on this team. And I was talking with someone earlier today on Twitter, and he said, I wouldn't be surprised if Ricky Pearsall becomes the wide receiver 2 and now out targets Debo in the rest of the season. I'm like, I mean, I could see that happening. You know, when you see what Ricky Pearsall is doing and you see that he's getting better with each game, and you see his involvement right now. He had 6 targets in this game, 73 yards, 46 of those coming in his first NFL touchdown. I would have liked that one to be at home, but the second best place that could have happened is in Florida, where he played in college. So that's pretty sweet for him. I mean, he's just going to continue to grow in confidence as well. And the chemistry that him and Purdy have seem to be pretty good so far as well. I think we're seeing his ability to get open, right? I think that's very encouraging. That's only going to get better as he continues to play more too. So these are the guys. Like, who would have thought at the beginning of the season when we told you that it's going to be Jawan Jennings, it's going to be Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle is going to lead them in touchdowns. I mean, we'd be a little surprised, right? So I think seeing what's kind of gone down with some of the involvement of other people, I think has been great.
And Dazzle says we need to start converting more of these drives into TDs. You have big threats in the end zone, and JJ and Kittle can't settle for field goals. I think that's, it's a 10-week discussion, like literally like the same exact thing. Second time this season, the 49ers have attempted 6 field goals in a game. Not good. Yeah, that's not what you're looking for. But going back to Ricky Pearsall, and I think this is what I noticed when I popped on the tape and I got a chance to sit and watch it, is he really understands now the physicality of the game, it feels like, and he knows where to go and get inside to certain zones, right? Like when he's getting bodied up, he gets to a spot and he turns around and he knows exactly where he needs to go to lead Purdy into a throw. And that's only going to come with more experience. The more and more I'm watching him, I'm watching a guy who's understanding the speed of the game, what teams are trying to do, how they're attacking him, and how to beat it. Doesn't always have to be that you're the fastest. Doesn't always have to be that you're the savviest route runner, as we said with Jawan Jennings. It's understanding the little things, the finite details. The devil's in the details with route running and getting open. And I think Ricky Pearsall is starting to scratch the surface of that, which should leave the 49ers fans very excited. But I will say this is the perfect way to segue. Where would the 49ers in 2024 be without this rookie class? This rookie class altogether. Dominic Pooney still hasn't allowed a sack. Okay? Literally. That was literally, he hasn't allowed a sack, I feel like, in 5 seasons. He didn't do it in Kansas either. Dominic Pooney, Bernardo Green, the highest graded defensive player, Malik Mustafa, Ricky Pearsall. This draft class is already giving you starters and contributors. There's no wait one more year thing. Every single person that they've drafted, aside from Jared Kingston, sorry guys, is contributing. And I don't think you could ask for anything more. Everyone wants to draft all pros. Everyone wants to draft pro bowlers. But finding starters, contributors through a 7-round draft class and have it be immediate, I mean, it's only 10 weeks, but my goodness, how is this not the best rookie class of the John Lynch Shanahan era just through 10 weeks?
I think it is. I really do. I mean, we were all kind of waiting to see what Ricky Pearsall was going to be to really confirm that. And look at what he's done already in just a few short weeks of him, playing games. Yeah. And I want to say really quickly, Bernardo Green single-handedly in that game on Sunday probably kept 10 points off the board for the Bucs, because he had a great open field tackle on Bucky Irving that would have most certainly been a touchdown had he not gotten that. And then the other play that ended up being the incompletion that got reversed, or the completion that got reversed, they would have been in field goal range for that one had that stood, or if they made that catch. So huge. I mean, just huge contributions throughout the board from all of these guys. Mustafa laid a big hit in this game as well, as he, that's kind of becoming a thing, regular occurrence every week. And we just like to see that from these guys. Jacob Cowing had a nice return in this one. Everyone across the board, like I'm so impressed.
Oh, well, no. All right, I'm happy that you said something nice about special teams, because I forgot all about the 30-yard return from Cowing. That was really big.
I mean, he needed that, right? Like just some little redemption from
Darrell Luter. Get away from the football, please.
Yeah, no, I mean, special teams, we can't say enough bad things about them, it feels like. But this rookie class has been great. I almost wonder if the rookie class this year being so good is going to change our perception about 2025, because you remember how many people after the 2024 draft were just so upset because the 49ers didn't address this, they didn't address that. Well, look what they ended up with. I mean, I don't think we can argue too much. Yes, tackle. We could have probably appreciated a better right tackle, but I think I'm happy with what they ended up with.
Okay. I'm glad you brought that up. I'm really glad you brought that up, okay? Because I want to go off on a little tangent real quick. So the 49er fans and a lot of people, well, they need to address right tackle. Well, why did you let the Kansas City Chiefs draft Kingsley Suamata? Kingsley Suamata stinks. So any right tackle would do? Kingsley Suamata got benched. Any right tackle would do? See, this is the difference. When you jam a prospect in for need instead of evaluating, and everyone asks, why don't the 49ers like Suamata? That's why. Because he's not playing well. He got benched twice this year. So is it any right tackle, or is it the right tackle? I understand you want to upgrade over McKivitz. I understand. But people that were screaming to the sky about Kingsley, about Rosengarten, they're struggling. They are struggling. They are struggling right now. Suamata looks terrible. Like, they benched him twice. All you got to do is pop on the tape. They literally put a older veteran behind him because they couldn't let it happen anymore. But my thing is, you want a right tackle, but do you want the right tackle or just any right tackle? And that's what's funny about the draft process. We have a lot of hot takes when they come out, and we have a lot of feelings when it's happening. But now that we've got a 10-week sample size, Suamata's not good. And if the Niners would have drafted him and he's out there at right tackle and he's getting his ass whipped, what would you be calling him? A bust. So it just, just saying. That's all about that. Because it was a lot of like, why a wide receiver at 31? Why not this? Why not that? Maybe now we've got a little bit more insight into why the 49ers didn't want either of those guys for now. Just saying. That's all. My bad.
And look, if they're going to be drafting like they did in 24, all I'm saying is in 25, I'm going to have a lot more trust in the process, right? Well, we say trust the process. And so I'm going to wait and see just what they have in store, because clearly, they were doing something right this past season. And yeah, I don't know where the 49ers would be without this current draft class. I would assume their record would probably be a little bit worse, right? I mean, I don't think that's crazy to say.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, again, in this draft class, I think what we're really excited about is this. Right guard, you've got your guy now for 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And easy. He's going to be a Pro Bowler this year if he's not, in the discussion for All Pro, because he still hasn't allowed a sack, which is, for a rookie to just come in and become that, is insane. Renardo Green looks like the next guy in the secondary. So if you let Mooney Ward walk, you're okay with Green and Lenore. Mustafa looks like a guy that can develop. Ricky Pearsall is coming into his own. You've got stars, all pros, it seems like, that are on their way, and you've got contributors. You can't ask for anything more from this 2024 draft class, especially with the immediate returns. It's immediate. We literally had to wait for Ricky Pearsall to figure out what we had in our first round pick, and we were already excited about this draft class. And where would this team be without this draft class? And I think that's really where I'm at with it, in terms of, if you don't have Pooney, at right guard, and you're still running out Burford or something like that, how does this team look? It's just now you can look at this draft class and say whether they're all pros or not, and not everybody's going to have all pros in every single, round or any draft class, but solid starting contributors, and they're developing. I mean, this one seems like a home run. And I think with all the frustration around this season, we have to at least acknowledge how great this draft class is so far, even if we don't know what the future holds for any of them. But right now, to get immediate returns from all these guys, and including guys who should be mentioned as Pro Bowlers and possible All Pros in Pooney, I think this is just a massive win. And this draft class was the most important. I have been on record many times, the most important for the 49ers to be able to sustain winning. You might have just done that when you have to pay everybody else and make some tough decisions on other people. I think that's really, really important. And they didn't take one defensive lineman in this draft. And I think that's crazy.
It's crazy. It's very crazy. We got a super chat from Definitely Not That, Stephen A. Keep building from inside out, draft center, defensive tackle, defensive end. Yeah, I mean, that'll definitely be on my board for next season, right? But again, like, don't focus too much on need as fans, right? We're going to trust the process this time. They've earned our trust a little bit more because of this draft class. We owe them at least a little bit of that.
Yeah, and M. Patel says Banks will walk. Wonder if they hire an old vet or keep Feliciano at left guard. I think that's Spencer Burford's job next year. I think because he looks far more comfortable on the left side. I think that's a cheap option, and that's still one of your guys, a younger guy. But when he was in there, when Banks went out, he looked better than Banks. So could it be a left and right thing? I don't know. If I was betting, the 49ers would probably just go with Burford, and they're just not gonna throw a lot of money, at that position, as they, I mean, I don't want to get you guys all riled up, but yeah,
yes.
I don't want to get you guys all riled up, but I do think that they have confidence inside the building in Burford. So I think Burford is probably your most likely, and wouldn't be a bad thing because he's cheap. He's better on the left side. Could be something but yeah, Banks has got to go. I think this is it. Yeah, like he's got to walk. Someone's going to overpay Aaron Banks. Let them, because offensive line is so hard to find. They're going to say, man, he started for the San Francisco 49ers. They made a Super Bowl with him. We got to bring him in. Go ahead. You got it. You guys got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard finding quality offensive linemen. But even like the 49ers right now have some solid backups, which is crazy. So we know they're going to have to cut some spending coming into next year, right? So I like that option, Jay. I think that's a good one, and I think that's probably the route they'll go, honestly. But should we talk about this Seahawks game now?
Do we want to?
They've been catching strays.
Do we want to just put a bow on this Bucs game, like just because I think defensively.
Yeah, I know where this is going.
No. Nope. You know exactly how I feel, so I don't have any reason to talk about it. Okay, you know exactly how I feel. I'm done beating the dead horse. If you're just new to the party now and all of a sudden, no. But if you're new to the party now and all of a sudden you're like, how could they waste a 3rd round pick on a kicker? Welcome to the party, pal. But okay, I don't care about that anymore. I really don't. I'm just resigned to the fact that it is what it is. It is what it is. He's gonna miss. He's gonna make you nervous. But it is what it is. It's out of my hands. But I'm not wrong. I'm just early. And welcome to the party. That's all I gotta say. Anyway, what I'm talking about is on defense, right? The defensive line in this game. For large parts, it felt like the defensive line was gassed, and the heat was whatever. Like getting to them. But Evan Anderson makes one of the better plays in this game that I feel like is flying under the radar. If he doesn't stop them in the red zone there and push them back, you're likely looking at a touchdown, and then the 49ers got to go down and get a touchdown. So that drive was incredibly frustrating because you've got Nick Bosa holding Baker Mayfield's arm, and Baker Mayfield still makes the throw. Yeah. I mean, it's cool. It's really nice of him to make friends. It's really nice of him to make friends with Baker finally and bury the hatchet. But like you're watching the defense kind of just face mask, holding, face mask again. You're watching them implode, and you kind of just have this feeling of like, shit, here we go again, man. But Evan Anderson makes this play right here, and it really, really set that drive back and allowed the 49ers to sit back and then go, down the field and do what they did, to finish that. So with the defense, I didn't have as many reservations about them until like that drive. Like that drive really was just like, I was like, oh no, and then it goes back to all the things that we've been saying. When you allow a team to hang around, when you allow a team to have the door cracked a little bit, and they've got 3/4 of information on how you've been guarding them, and now you can exploit whatever it is, that's the result that could happen. Look, on the brink of an implosion, fine, whatever. I'd rather almost lose than almost win. I want to say that, but I wanted to give Evan Anderson his flowers because that was a really, really big play.
Another rookie,
there you go,
free agent.
There you go.
No, he's been real nice, dude. And I for him to be in the game in that moment, just such a high pressure situation, especially after he committed one of the penalties, right? Like in that same drive. And so to keep him in there and have that trust in him, I think goes a long way. And he's deserving of that trust because in the limited amount that he's been out there, like he's been a difference maker, right? And I can't wait to see what he does as the season progresses as well. I think he's going to continue to improve. So that's a big one. The very frustrating thing about this team and maybe this defense as well, Jay, has been they start the game pretty well. Like they were stopping the run early in this game. I was like, okay, yeah, they're doing what they need to do to win this game. And then in the second half, fourth quarter, all kind of starts to unravel for them. And this has been a thing now, a pattern that we've seen, not just in this game, but like throughout this season. And it's frustrating because they lose grip on the games when the offense starts to gain grip on the game. So like it goes back to our point of this team cannot play a complete game. Like it's so frustrating. And it's this like push and pull, give and take that we've seen, and they haven't quite all put it together and be consistent on both sides of the ball. But hopefully that can continue to improve as the season goes on as well. We got another super chat here. You guys are on fire. Thank you so much. Official BNA Music says, Pepper has mind control over Debo. He'd be like, shut the F up. He'll be quiet. But when he leaves, he'll be talking again.
Excellent Friday reference. Excellent Friday reference. Excellent Friday reference. I guess, okay. I don't want to talk about
Fine, I'll bite.
Right, fine. I don't want to talk about the kicker, but I do want to talk about this specifically, this interaction. So this team felt that their season was on the brink right there in that game. And they feel the momentum swinging just like we do watching at home. And this frustration has been building up with we're better than our record says, although you are what your record says. I'm just saying, like, from their mind state. And the frustration is building. The red zone isn't clicking. You're still. And then you've got the guys on offense who are out there in the heat and the sun, and they're busting their ass to get down into field goal range. Like, there is no field goal range without the offense. Right? Unless if you're kicking it from the 1 and you can kick it 99 yards, cool. Like that's neat. But that was all frustration on the part of our red zone woes haven't been fixed. We've got to fix things. Our season's on the line here. If we don't win this game, you might pack this shit up. And 3 kicks. 1, I get it. People miss kicks. Justin Tucker's missing. 2, all right. 3, nah. And I feel the frustration. And you know what? I have nothing to say bad about what Deebo Samuel did. Now, what I will say is, Taylor Pepper, it's cool that you want to defend your teammate, but get out of the way when football players are talking. Please. Get out of the way when football players are talking. You don't get to do that. You're not a leader on this team. Deebo Samuel's done things for this organization that you can't even... Never mind. I don't even want to go that far. But just the frustration was palpable. It was mounting. And you want to, defend your guy. That's cool. Listen, when Deebo talks, you listen. And you just say, listen, y'all, it's cool. It's cool. Like, just diffuse the situation. The idea that a long snapper has a way to like yap back as somebody who has done amazing things for the 49ers and in the NFL and actually plays football, insane to me.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about it. I'll just say like there were some right and wrongs from both sides, but this is just things that happen in football. I don't like to see players going at each other. I understand the frustration. But I don't like to see it, but it is something that happens. It's normal. I can guarantee you we've spent way more time thinking and talking about it than the team has. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. They've handled it.
Yeah. Hey, look, it's done. I just wanted to talk about it, you know, in a vacuum and everything, and cooler heads have prevailed. Everything's gonna be fine. Okay, it's fine. All right. You want to talk about Seattle because you've been dying to
Chomping at the
take your
bit,
jab.
just a
Yeah,
little
right.
bit.
Like you've been dying to go with the Seahawks, man. I mean, I get it. You know, I get it, but like, man, I want to let you go because it seems like you got a lot to say. What do you think about this game against Seattle, in which if the 49ers lose, they lose about 30% of their playoff probability. So last week's game was the biggest game. This week's game is the biggest game now.
I just don't know why. Like, I'm just so confident that the 49ers win this one, right? I mean, it's going to be at home. And based on what we saw a few weeks ago when they played Seattle, it just doesn't look like a team that's on the 49ers level. It just looks like a team that is kind of in their heads. Who would have thought, right? Like, the tables
Yeah.
have turned. How the turntables. So yeah, I definitely think that the 49ers should win this game, will win this game. I think just the way that they match up against each other, I think that's it, right? Like, it's the 49ers can be as bad of a team as they are and still beat Seattle because of how they match up against each other. And I think that's the greatest point. Geno Smith, for whatever reason, just cannot, to save his life, put together a good competitive game for 4 quarters against this 49ers team in defense. Again, even with this defense not being as good as it has been in years past, like, you would have thought this was like the 2019 defense he's going up against when he matches up against them. So I think it's a mental thing. I think also it's just the way that they match up against each other. And the 49ers have the advantage here. I think with Christian McCaffrey coming back, it's just going to continue to be huge because I saw this stat on ESPN this morning. McCaffrey has posted at least 125 scrimmage yards in all 6 games he has played against the Seahawks. That's pretty freaking good, right? So I know last week, McCaffrey's still trying to get his feet up under him in the ground game a little bit, but I think he's going to look a lot better against Seattle coming up this week, and I think we will see some of those differences as well. I keep thinking that third down red zone trips going to have better returns. I think this might be a game where they could make that happen.
Okay. Yeah, and Christian McCaffrey, the last time the 49ers played Seattle in Santa Clara, on the first play, ripped off like a 80-yard run and almost took it down. So, yeah, he does, have that. And I think we pointed to multiple games where we're like, this is when the levee breaks and the red zone offense, comes alive and everything. And, we'll say it again this week. We got to hope, so my hesitance towards this game is this. Seattle off a bye, DK Metcalf's back. The defense got their reinforcements back on the defensive line because they weren't there the last time the 49ers played. Given the way that the 49ers have performed through 9 weeks, we can project that they'll regain their form, but without seeing it, I still have a feeling that this game is going to be close. And it's going to be a 3-point win, 4-point win, and it's going to boil down to the end. Seattle, for all intents and purposes, is playing for their season, even though they have an 11% chance to make the playoffs right now. So they are playing for their season. The wounded animal thing and the divisional game on top has me feeling like I think the 49ers are going to win, but I do not think this is a game where the 49ers just roll them and we start to feel like, here we go, we're back. They'll win this game. And I do think your point of the improvement that we saw out of the bye was that the 49ers could win the games that they are having trouble with, that are slipping away, right? Like that's something they haven't been able to do this season. But for me, everything off of this bye, and this is their season. And you can't look at this game like like this is going to be a one-off. I understand the talent discrepancy. I understand that the 49ers largely own the Seattle Seahawks. I understand all those things. I'm saying going into this particular week, this is going to be a team that is going to lay it all on the line, and the 49ers have to do the same. And if they don't come out and they lollygag and they leave them around the game, I fear that it could have disastrous results, because there is a world where I could see Seattle with all their guys back being a better offensive team than the Bucs were that we saw last week. You know, obviously without Mike Evans and without Godwin and all those guys. So I do think they're going to win, but this game has like white knuckle, sweaty, like it's written all over it, I think, in this one. Because
do, right?
I know. And I think, again, the 49ers are trying to tell you who they are. Nothing's going to be easy. And I don't expect this game to be easy at all, based on everything that I've seen through their 9 games.
I think there'll be points in this game where it'll be, pretty close. It'll feel high tension. But, I mean, the 49ers won the last matchup by 12 points. Like, do we really think that the players that are coming back for Seattle are that big of a difference that it's going to narrow that margin anymore? Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, I could say the same for Christian McCaffrey, that the 49ers can win by even more points.
Very true.
Because you have Christian McCaffrey back. So, yeah, I think it just goes to the greater point of I simply just don't see both of these teams being as they are. I don't see Seattle matching up well against the 49ers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, I can dig it. I like it. Steph, last week we disagreed. This week,
yeah,
we both.
I gotta be confident.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe when we talk about the 49ers adjustments, maybe we need to adjust too, right? Because we're predicting 49ers wins every week. Maybe.
Opposite, George.
Opposite. Listen, it takes a lot of people to sit there and make adjustments. Perhaps we're going about this the wrong way. Perhaps we need to evaluate the way that we're picking games. And Corey Soto's asking, did DK play the first game? He did. If you forgot, he ran the wrong route. That's where Renardo Green got his interception, and he was yelling on the phone at the offensive coordinator. And he was like, "Can we throw past the fucking sticks?" Like literally, that's what he was saying. For whatever reason. And Mooney Ward, hopefully, and again, look, Mooney, take all the time you need, man. Football is the last thing that you need to be worried about at this point. But there is a world that Mooney could be in this game as well, too. He's had success against DK before. Mooney didn't play in the first Seattle game, correct? Or did he?
He did not. I don't think he didn't, because he was going through an injury.
Right. So
that was a Thursday night game, right?
Right. He went to warm up and he didn't make it. Okay, so Charvarius Ward will be back. Yep. That's obviously a boost to the secondary, no matter how you view it. He's had success against DK Metcalf. Yeah, the matchups are there. I think, look, the path to the 49ers winning is that they're just better. And they have the better players. But with the way that this season is gone, you can't expect fans to be pointing to this is the week. Because we've been saying that for 4 weeks. And it's still the same thing over and over again, right? So it might be this week. Right. It might be this week. But your confidence level goes from, they're going to break through and they're going to do all this to, well, maybe this might be the week. And it might be. It certainly could be. And it would be paramount for them to figure this out in this game, because things get exponentially harder after that. And there's no way you're going to beat some of these teams down the stretch playing the type of football you've been playing, even if at times those teams haven't been doing the same thing. Like the Buffalo Bills at times, they look a little bit off. They look skittish at times, but they still have a quarterback who can make all the throws. You have to kind of plan for the fact that Amari Cooper will be playing in this game. So will Keon Coleman. They've both been out. Like, you have to start to get this thing rolling, because this is not going to get easier. We've already blown through the easy part of the schedule. Your real easy games now, the Chicago Bears look awful, right? They look terrible. That offense is horrible. Arizona might be good. Right? Like they're 6-4. Man. Yeah, they're 6-4. Your record is what it says, right? And every other team is a playoff team. I know the Rams didn't look good last night, but they're going to play the 49ers tough as well. Obviously Miami might look different than they have. Who knows if they're going to be in the playoff run, whatever, and maybe they turn it on. Like, you have to figure this out fast, because other teams are figuring it out. And when the sample size gets to week 10, 11, you kind of just are who you are. And that's the part that I am a little bit nervous about with this 49ers team is this who you are? Or are you going to fix these things that we keep saying are fixable, but just don't get fixed? So I don't know. It could be the week, but I can't jump out on a limb and say, yeah, this is the week when the levee breaks with the red zone and they just start pouring in the touchdowns again. Or the special teams is going to just be average. That's all the 49ers need. The 49ers just need special teams to be average, not the worst in the league, average. But yeah, it's been weeks and weeks of us trying to figure out when it's going to happen. And it could be this week, but I just don't have the confidence to say fully with my chest that it is going to be this week.
Sure. At the very least, I think we can both agree that we think the 49ers win this game against Seattle on Sunday. So that's big in itself.
All right. So we're agreeing here. The 49ers beat Seattle. Rob, pull up the schedule and let's do the exercise again, right? Let's do it one more time. So we're going to do this every week, Steph. And I think as football is a week-to-week league across the NFL, clearly, different teams have different expectations, right? I think a few weeks ago, if you would have looked at that Bears game when they were kind of rolling a little bit and said, man, that's going to be a problem. Now, watching the Bears right now, oh my God, it shouldn't be a problem by then unless they figure some things out. But let's do it. Tampa Bay, W. Seattle, W. Packers.
I'm starting to think this is a toss-up too because Jordan Love, Packers, recent weeks haven't looked so great. But I'm going to go with the weather factor. I'm going to go with the fact that the Packers want some get back on the 49ers. So I'm still calling that one a loss.
I'm going to flip-flop and take this one as a W right now. Just based on McCaffrey being back and the 49ers having success in Green Bay and being able to weather those storms before they've been there, right? And even in November, it'll be chilly. But they played in way colder games than that and found a way to win the game. So you know what? Yeah, give me a W. Maybe I'm feeling it. The coffee's got me going. The Bills?
L.
Yes, I agree. Bears?
W.
Win. Rams?
That will be a close one too. I'm going to call it an L.
Okay, I'm going to say W. But yeah, I don't like that game either. That game, that's the one that sticks out in my mind, like off where I'm just like, I hate that matchup. I just hate it because no matter who's on the field, McVay always gets them coached up well, and it just I hate that game. Right? All right. Going to Miami, across the country.
Right now, I'm saying it's still an L. Although, as if I see some improvements, I could call that one a dub. We'll see.
I think that's going to be a W. I think that's going to be a W as well too. From what I've been watching from the Dolphins, and last night, like it didn't really. Obviously, they won the game and they won a gritty game, but I don't see the same explosion from this offense, right? And it just feels like things are a little bit more figured out. What's funny about this season is everyone's complaining about the product, but it's less the product and more the defenses have done an amazing job of understanding what offenses are trying to do and are punching back. And I think that's kind of where I am with this one. Like I think the Dolphins, I think that's a W. The Lions, I think that's an L.
Yeah.
The Lions are really good. And then what about this idea? Week 18 for the division against the Arizona Cardinals.
Oof, man.
In Arizona. For all intents and purposes, Dre Greenlaw will be back. McCaffrey will be rolling and they'll have everything going. So we have to contextualize all these other games with that as well, too. But week 18 could be for the division if, things kind of hold serve right now.
You go first.
I do think that Arizona is better than people were giving them credit for early on, in this season. And I think they've improved. And I think that's a lot to do with Jonathan Gannon. The defense isn't very good, but the offense is starting to pick it up.
They're rolling right now.
I think a loss to Arizona would be crushing.
Yep.
And I think if I had to choose between the two battle-tested teams and gotta have it game, I'll stick with the 49ers. Call me a homer. That's fine.
That's kind of where I was at too. I'm still going to call it a loss because even if the 49ers don't win the NFC West, there's still a path for them to make the playoffs via wild card. So that could still happen. But yeah.
So we're at 5-4. Steph, you've got Seattle a win, 6-4. Packers a loss, right? 6-5. Yeah. You've got the Bills a loss, 6-6. You got the Niners beating the Bears, 7-6. The Rams, you got them. You got that as a win, or?
No, that was a loss.
Oh man, you did, and then you got the Dolphins at a loss and the Lions with a loss. Yeah, you had them going 2-6 the rest of the way, Steph. Hey,
that's how, because it's how they're looking right now. Things could change, like you said, week to week, which is why we'll continue to do this every week.
Right.
But what I'm
all
saying.
Right, interesting. I mean, again, with the way things are happening and the way the injuries are piling up, we don't know what shape teams are going to be in. We don't know what shape the 49ers are going to be in. So, like, like standing here and saying, oh, I predicted a win 3 weeks ago, when that team that you're banking on is not going to be there in 3 weeks, or they're going to be all banged up, or they're just not playing the same. It's the reason that we're going to continue to do this and close out the show with it, just to see what the vibes are. It's a vibe check. So, but that'll do it for this episode of Bully Ball on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Thank you guys again for 15,000 subs on YouTube. Huge milestone. We couldn't do any of this without you guys. Shout out to Rob, Steph, Levin, Michelle, Vish, Grant. There's a bunch of other people probably on the network that I'm missing that really help out as well too. But anybody who's contributed, thank you guys so much. Make sure that you guys are subscribed to the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. Follow Steph on Twitter at Steph49K. Follow me on Twitter at JasonAponte2103. And as always, go Niners.
Peace.